Hey guys, welcome to another Road to Luminous 2.0 episode. For the majority of this episode, I pretty much just focus on getting my Luminous prepped up to transport over to the Absolab set. I initially wasn't going to because I thought it would be a little too much effort, and I honestly did not have the patience to go through the whole process of transporting over my gear from CRA and Tyrant to Absolab. But I recently acquired a Absolab Mage Glove, which I don't entirely remember where I got it, I just got it. So I decided to, because of the fact that occult cubes were much cheaper now, I elected to purchase 3,000 of them, and we're going to be doing a lot of cubing this episode, as well as purchasing some Absolab gear. I'm trying something a little new this time. I am doing kind of a post-commentary thing while the footage is played, so I'm trying something a little new this time, where I'm essentially just voicing over what's on the screen right now. Whether I'll be doing a play-by-play of what actually happened or explaining my thought process behind the clips, I'm not entirely sure. Or for all we know, this could be the series where I just go about inane rambling, and that's how I can, I guess, keep you guys entertained for the duration of the episode. But essentially, since the 25-star update has been released, I have decided to go ahead and port over my Luminous to the Absolab set. In other words, I'm going to be going for the 5-piece Absolab set. I recommend it for people who do not have who do not already have Tyrants that are at least 12 stars and have 2 lines of legendary potential stat. In other words, if your Tyrants are already 12 stars and you have a respectable potential of, let's say, 18% stat or 21% stat, it's not ideal to switch over to the Absolab set because the benefit and I guess the bonus you get from the Absolab set is rather infinitesimal. But for my Luminous's case, he only has like 7 stars and I think his cape is only 6 stars, and he doesn't have neither the gloves nor the belt. The belt is irrelevant because it's not part of the set effect in any way, but just like the capes are pretty cheap and, or not cheap, but the cape and boots are not that great. So if I were to get my Absolab gear to 17, maybe 20 stars in the near future, then it would definitely be a much better upgrade. I lack the motivation and the resources to really get this guy very far, but I do enjoy upgrading characters, so essentially you can say that my Luminous will be my 4th main. Because I can't really do double miracle time on him, what I've been doing instead was I've been trying to min-max the epic potentials on his items as best as I possibly could. In other words, trying to go for at least 2 lines of % int on my gear, and it's pretty possible due to the fact that occult cubes are much cheaper now. Back then they were 9 mil each or something, those were some dark days, and then now they've been deflating to about 250k in Windia. Which means for basically 1 bill you can get roughly about 4,000 cubes. Epic potentials are kind of fickle because there are a lot of different potentials that are present in the epic and rare pots that are taken out when you go to unique and legendary in place of better pots. Which means you run into a lot of weird potentials that you wouldn't see if you were cubing a legendary or unique item. It's like kind of hit or miss. Usually if you're going for 2 lines of % stat of your choice, if you were doing legendary or unique, it wouldn't take any more than I would say maybe 30 to 40 cubes. But for epic potential, especially if you're using occult cubes, although whatever cube you use on the item doesn't really matter to what potential you get, you can very well expect to use about maybe 400 cubes. In fact, currently my gloves, if I were to spoil it, the gloves were a bit obstinate, I would say, just because they took about 400 cubes to get them to get 2 lines of % in. And as you know, Murphy's Law, when you're trying to go for a specific stat, you're not going to get it. And when you're not going for that stat, you obviously will always get it. So for my dual blade, he would be getting 3 lines of % int, and then my Luminous would get 3 lines of % luck. I think what I'm going to do is when Spell Trace Fever Time comes into play, I will be going ahead and going to be spell tracing all of my Absolab gear. You know, you can obviously prime scroll it. You obviously want to try to maybe, if you can't prime scroll it, at least try to chaos scroll to goodness it. But like I said, those tend to be rather costly, so I'll go for the quote-unquote cheapest option of 30% tracing. Eventually, if I do want to make my Luminous a little stronger, I could opt to re-scroll them with Primes or Chaos, but I first have to worry about my Xenon. There's a lot of gear in my Xenon that still isn't finished, like I don't have primed Sweetwater gear yet. I think in terms of my dual blade, he only needs to get his Outlaw Heart replaced, or not the Outlaw Heart replaced, he needs an Outlaw Heart, and then he needs a new hat. I've been waiting for a 30% luck one to emerge in the market if I can get one of those, and then I would go ahead and I would then prime scroll it myself. I have no problem with prime scrolling myself. I would ideally like to purchase it already completely scrolled. I seriously wonder when Double Miracle Time is going to be coming. I will not really be participating in Double Miracle Time to the extent that I have in my past Miracle Time sessions. Probably only going to be spending about I would say 100k NX. I have been able to find a couple NX sellers and I've been getting about as much as I could. But I don't really need to participate in Miracle Time anymore because most of my items on my Dual Blade and Xenon are already legendary. My Demon Slayer could still benefit from it, and of course my Luminous, but I need not worry about them too much just because they're my 3rd and 4th main and I don't want to go that far. And I think there's a lot I can still do that doesn't require a very substantial surplus of NX, like porting over my Absolab gear. So when Spell Chase Fever Time comes in, then I might end up going over and rescrolling all of my Luminous's gear and then porting it over to Absolab by way of the Transfer Hammer. There's also the case of if you Transfer Hammer an item over to a new item that happens to be like a unique or legendary, it will drop it back down to epic tier. So that's why I want to wait out. Eventually I will make efforts to get the items to unique in the, at bare minimum. And then I'll just Master Craftsman Cube the rest of the way, and then if it does go to Legendary, then I'll Meister Cube. I don't really see myself going too far. I think because I haven't really maxed out my nodes on my Luminous, I think my Reflection is level, I believe it's level 27, and my Ender is level 28. There's still a lot more damage I can pick up for free. And he currently is strong enough to take on Chaos Root Abyss, Hard Magnus, Helgolix, like the original hard bosses. He's still not anywhere close to being a contender for Lotus and Damien. Speaking of which, I actually have joined a Hard Damien, Hard Lotus, and Hard Lucid party, so I'm actually pretty excited about that, because I can then get a lot of work done, and possibly if we can accomplish the bosses, I will go and upload them onto my channel, because those are pretty big milestones. We did finish Damien. We killed him a couple days ago. It just so happens that Hard Damien is normal Damien, but with just more HP. No real differences in, I guess, attacks. I think Lotus is the same too, only there are just a lot more tanks that drop. Hard Lucid, there's that phase 3 where you have to like do, I think, what, 200 billion damage per second times 6 to be able to kill her quite effectively. I think you had to do like, was it 100 trillion HP in 40 seconds? Or something, I don't remember exactly how much you had to do. But yeah, if you guys have any questions with mid-level funding, so if you're at around like, let's say the 2 to 3 mil range, feel free to ask in the comment section below. I think we should be all set and ready to go. I think my Luminous I'm eventually going to get into level 210, maybe 220. I actually feel like getting my Luminous to 220 before my Demon Slayer just because Luminous is much stronger, or much easier to train in Slurpy Forest Depths. And I will keep you guys updated with how he's doing. I actually enjoy funding newer characters just because I find the early and mid-game funding to be much more enjoyable than the late-game funding. I just find cubing to be... I used to love cubing. Cubing was like my favorite thing to do in MapleStory, until you ended up having to spend like a good... I think to get some of my items, which I got from 2-line luck to 3-line luck, it took a good maybe 300 or 400k NX just for 9% more stat. And the unfortunate part is that even though it takes an insane amount of resources to just get a little bit more percent stat, that means all the difference. Like especially if you're at, let's say, the 40k stat mark, which I'm at 46k right now, I think. An extra 9% stat can mean like 1000 more luck. So while it doesn't seem like too much, it actually is. And that's how you see some people who are, there's like a lot of people that are consolidated around the 30k stat mark, and then there are just some people who are all the way up to 60k. And the only reason being is because they have every item 30% stat, or even like 27% stat, which is still pretty respectable. It's not really that good for like pro player status, and like some people would actually requeue 27% stat so that they can go for 30 or 33. So I mean, it's gonna be a long journey, but I'm still enjoying it quite nicely. I've been slowing down on my Dual Blade a little bit just because instead of cubing, I've been going for Star Force. In fact, I'm really excited for Sunday because I have a lot more resources now. I was able to find pretty good merch deals on the auction house, and I sold them and made good profit. And I have about 80 or so bill saved up, which means that we can enjoy a rather long Star Forcing session again on Sunday. And I think I should be able to, within reason, get my Superior Golix pendants to 20 stars, which means that'll cover my superior gear, my superior pendants, then my hat, top, bottom, eye and face accessory. My Katara also hit 20 stars. I don't know if I told you guys this already. I'm sure people in the stream, or people who watch my stream, they have my Sweetwater Katara. After it boomed like 5 times on stream and I gave up on it, I decided to try one more time, and I bought one spare Katara before I even needed it. And I recall someone on stream saying, if you buy only one, you're gonna need another. If you buy 2, you're only gonna need 1. Long story short, my Katara went from 17 to 18 to 19, back down to 18, then 19, then 20. So I never had to use a spare Katara. I don't know whether to be annoyed or happy by it. I'm obviously happy because I was able to finally get to 20 stars, but it's just so cumbersome to know that you always, like, people who over prepare always end up not needing as much as they do or they prepared for, and people who underprepare always need more than they prepared for. It's like life is throwing reverse psychology at you. But anyways, I've been rambling on for a while. I will see you guys in the next episode of Road to Luminous. I've actually am pretty excited just because it's been a while since I've done like any big substantial upgrades on any of my characters, and getting all of my items from Fafnir and CRA and Tyrant to Absolab, it's going to be a pretty interesting endeavor, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.